Joe Biden recently had a town hall on CNN, and there's been a lot of confusion about when schools can expect to be open amid the coronavirus pandemic. Now, earlier, we heard that Joe Biden wanted to ensure that schools open, that specifically the majority of K through 8 schools open by the end of his first 100 days in office. He actually rebuffed that earlier claim that was made by his press secretary, Jen Psaki, that the president's goal was to have the majority of schools open at least one day a week in person in the same time frame. So again, different messaging from different people within the administration. It has been confusing. And so he addressed that during the town hall. Let's take a look at how that went down.
Your administration had set a goal to open the majority of schools in your first 100 days. You're now saying that means those schools may only be open for at least one day a week.
No, that's not true. That's what was reported. That's not true. It was a mistake in the communication. But what I'm talking about is I said opening the majority of schools in K through 8th grade, because they're the easiest to open, the most needed to be open in terms of the impact on children and families having to stay home.
So when do you think that would be K through 8, at least 5 days a week, if
I
possible?
think we'll be close to that at the end of the first 100 days. We'd have a significant percentage of them being able to be opened. My guess is they're going to probably be pushing to open all summer, to continue like it's a different semester.
Do you think that would be 5 days a week or just a couple?
I think many of them 5 days a week. The goal will be 5 days a week. Now it's going to be harder to open up the high schools for the reasons I said. It's just like if you notice the contagion factor in colleges is much higher than it is in high schools or grade schools.
So I definitely understand the need to reopen schools, especially for younger students. I mean, I think about my own niece who's 4.5, and having that interaction with children her age is so important. Being cooped up at home all day long with stressed out parents can't be good for her. And I'm sure that so many other families are experiencing the same thing. But what's missing from this conversation, in my opinion, is the fact that schools across this country are not funded equally. And so we keep talking about schools as if they're a monolith, like they're all funded the same, they all have the same capabilities, they have the same resources in order to purchase masks, to ensure that they can actually implement the social distancing guidelines, to ensure that their classrooms are smaller, meaning less students, to ensure that the classrooms are more ventilated. I mean, it's not a question of, oh, when do we just get to turn the lights back on and have everyone go back to normal with these schools? There's a deeper question here that I feel like isn't being addressed regarding the inequality among our schools, the lack of funding for our public schools. And I'm sorry, I respect the concerns of the educators who would be tasked with putting their own lives at risk by going back to the classroom. And if you're a teacher who is teaching at an underfunded school, you do have legitimate concerns. And I just feel like this conversation has just been used as a political flashpoint by Republican lawmakers right now, which this is politics. I guess it's fair, but it's also pretty ridiculous considering how absolutely disastrous the Trump administration was at handling this pandemic. But John, I wanted to get some of your thoughts on this because, again, it's important for schools to open, but maybe I'm missing something. Maybe they have talked about the inequalities in funding. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess town halls like this are where we're supposed to learn more about their thought process. When it came to topics having to do with COVID, I didn't like a lot of what I heard. I mean, look, obviously Biden's gonna be better than Trump. Like nobody doubts that. Trump was horrible. He didn't care what happened and he lied as if he was being paid for each lie when it came to COVID. But I also worry that people assume, oh, well, the adults are in the room, so they're going to do everything possible in the best possible way when it comes to COVID. I mean, after all, Fauci's there. It's gotta be great, right? And I think that, yeah, it's gonna be better, but I think people they're setting their expectations too high and their levels of suspicion too low. In that same town hall, he spoke to, it was a kid and a mom, I believe, about the kid was worried about getting COVID and wanted to know about vaccines. And he said some stuff that I have no doubt he thought I'm reassuring a kid, but he said things that was just untrue about kids being effectively unable to get COVID and having basically no chance of transmitting it, which yes, there's lower rates than other groups, but we criticize Trump and the Republicans nonstop for saying that sort of stuff as a justification for opening schools. And I don't want to see Joe Biden in the first couple of weeks of his presidency, whether it's to reassure a kid on live TV or not, spreading misinformation that a lot of people, he got 80+ million votes, are gonna trust. And when there's questions, I think it was to Kamala Harris recently about whether we'd be doing these openings before teachers are vaccinated. Well, I don't understand why you're being so evasive about that. They're talking about a timeline to reopen schools in the first 100 days. I just Googled it and there's 3.2 million teachers. We can't vaccinate 3 million teachers in the next 100 days. We're already doing 1.7 million vaccinations. Why is that an impossible goal? Why are they being so evasive about stuff having to do with COVID? I don't get it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I'm so happy that you brought up all of the other concerns regarding the Biden administration's response to the coronavirus. With the caveat that yes, this administration clearly takes the pandemic more seriously than Donald Trump did, but there are problems with the way they're refusing to give us clear answers on school reopenings and whether teachers are going to be vaccinated in time. Biden reiterated that he believes that by July, we will have 600 million vaccine doses available to ensure that everyone who wants a vaccine can get vaccinated. Let me also note, this is a side point, but because of the winter storm, there's been quite a bit of difficulty in delivering the vaccines. It's been pretty disastrous. But the severe weather conditions isn't something that the Biden administration can control. But I do think they can control their messaging and be absolutely clear. And more importantly, please talk about the funding. Talk about, look, we want to get these schools open. We want to make sure that everyone can go back to school in a safe and healthy manner. But in order to do that, something that Republicans claim they want to do, because Republicans are already campaigning against Biden using this very issue. If they genuinely care about it, let's go. Let's fast track the economic relief bill and let's make sure that our public schools get the funding they need in order to open safely. It's easy messaging. And I just feel like he drops the ball on this issue all the time, which opens the path for bad faith actors like Senator Roy Blunt, Republican, using this as a way to attack Biden as if they were any better in addressing these issues. I think everyone is hearing the same thing from their constituents. Kids are not learning what they ought to learn, and this is having a huge impact on the way families hope to live. And to be sure, it is having a huge impact on families, especially mothers who are now expected to mother 24 hours a day, teach their children, do the jobs of teachers, and then on top of that, work their full-time jobs, because we all know that you need a dual income household in order to survive in this country. It's just such a terrible situation.
Yeah, I know that we're close. Yeah, a lot of his answers about things like student loan debt cancellation and stuff like that were very frustrating.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.